Hello, everyone. This is Misha Houston, and I'm here to do my review of If Loving You Is Wrong. Tonight's episode is entitled Hanging in the Balance. And I have to say this, it was a pretty decent episode, but a lot of the scenes were just repeats of things that I have seen and heard before. There was really only one group of people that that I saw that I haven't seen before that really stood out in the episode, and that was Eddie and Larry. Everyone else I've seen before. I've seen um, Esperanza and Lucien talking. I've seen Esperanza and Kelly talking. I've seen Brad and Alex. I've seen Brad and Randall. I've seen these things before, and it's really nothing new. But the only real, section that really popped and shone for me was the Eddie and the Larry section. So it was a good episode. I mean, I enjoyed it, but it's nothing that I haven't seen before. I want to first apologize for getting this video up here so late. I've just been so busy, and having to do both shows back to back like this instead of just one show a week has really been straining for me. It's put a complete and total strain on me, and I just can't get the videos as fast, get them out as fast as I would like for them to be out. I apologize for having making people wait on me, but I just don't have as much time as I once did. But I am here. The video is up. I am here. And I'm going to do my review and continue to finish doing my reviews until the season is over for both shows, If Loving You Is Wrong and The Haves and the Have Nots. So, thank you so much for bearing with me. I appreciate you. And here we go. The first group of people we go to is Eddie and Larry. Eddie is in the back seat with a gun to Larry's head. Larry tries to weasel his way out of the situation by saying, "Oh, where we going? And it's a good way to avoid a crime is not to drive off from the original location." He starts to talk smack to Eddie, saying that he's not going anywhere and that he doesn't mind being shot. But Eddie answers, his arrogance with taser shots. He orders Larry to put the car in drive, but Larry tries to get away from him. Eddie beats him with a pistol and knocks him out, and he drives the car away. And I was so here for it. I was so here for it. I am so sick of Larry, and I am totally rooting for Eddie in this situation. I mean, Larry has caused the war that he didn't really need to cause. I mean, he could have just, taken the insults in stride, been a man about it, and just let the whole mess go. But he just had to attack Eddie. He had to attack him. And now his life is hanging in the balance. And I have no sympathy for Larry at all. Now, the next group of people we go to is Ian and a female coworker. At the law office, the female coworker comes in to talk to Ian, and she is looking for Larry, but Ian knows not where he is. The press is clamoring outside. Travis's family has called a press conference. Ian tries to call Larry, but there is no answer. Now, the next two people we go to is Larry and Eddie. We swoop back around to Larry and Eddie. Eddie has an unconscious Larry somewhere, and he is chaining up his ankles and his wrist. Now, we swing back to Ian, the female co-worker, and we also include a conversation with Ian and Lucia. Larry is not picking up the phone. It becomes known that Larry is the one who called the press conference, and Ian is very irritated that Larry is not there. Ian orders the co-worker to find Larry. Then Lucien calls wanting to know about the lawyer situation. Ian's referral is not calling Lucien back. Ian says he gave the best that he could. Lucien once again tries to convince Ian to be Kelly's lawyer, but Ian is unmoved and in a hurry to try to handle the press conference drama. Lucien notes his willingness to help Kelly one minute, then the reluctance the next, all because of Larry. Ian tells Lucien that he needs to get near a television because Travis's family is trying to pressure the judge into not granting Kelly bail. Lucien says that it is even more reason for Kelly to have a lawyer, but Ian remains unmoved. Ian does agree to give the lawyer that he referred to Lucien a call. Ian hangs up the phone and runs to his press conference. Ian is withholding evidence because Larry bullied him into doing so, and this is another reason why I'm rooting for Eddie. If Eddie gets rid of Larry, then maybe Kelly can stand a chance. Maybe Ian, without having Larry hovering all over him, could give the evidence to the DA and to Kelly and Lucien and all of the rest of the people involved in this case. Maybe if it is known that Travis was truly stalking her and committed bank fraud against her, then maybe the charges will be dropped or at the very least lessened. Now, the next group of people we go to is Brad and Alex. Brad arrives home and Alex immediately starts hammering questions to Brad, unsure of where they stand. She asks, "Where are you going? Do you want me to bring you lunch? Are you coming back at all?" He wants no lunch. He's heading off to the office and he will come back, he says. Alex says that she loves him and that she is truly sorry. She says again that she did not go over to Randall's house, but Brad doesn't really want to rehash it again. But Alex is still unsure. Brad tries to leave, but Alex says that she will do anything to get back on track. Brad says that he doesn't want Alex to go over to ever talk to Randall again, just to ignore him. And he says that it hurts him to see the two of them together. She promises that she will stay away. And Brad runs up the stairs before she can even finish her sentence. So, I mean, they're pretty much over. I don't really know what they're waiting on. They just need to go ahead and break that couple up. They're done. They are absolutely done, at least in my opinion. And as I said before, they never really should have been together at all. Brad never should have went back to her. Never. Not in my opinion. Now, the next two people we go to is Eddie and Larry. They had 3 scenes tonight, and this is the 3rd scene. Eddie chains Larry up, and Larry eventually, regains consciousness. Larry complains of his head being hurting, and he calls Eddie a son of a bitch. Larry says, to let him go, but Eddie says, "You think I would ever go to all this trouble just to let you go?" Larry says that he has to get to the office, but Eddie will not let him leave. He calls Eddie by his first name, which Eddie loves. Eddie says, "You like this S&M shit, don't you?" But Larry says that this is kidnapping. Eddie reminds him that him and Randall did the exact same thing. Eddie confesses that he pistol whipped Larry, and Larry responds, saying, "You can't leave any marks." Eddie beats him in the face. Larry says he did nothing to him, but Eddie completely disagrees with that. Eddie says that "you undressed me, you attacked me, you chained me up and humiliated me," and he is not sure what else they did to him, seeing that he was knocked out and unconscious. Larry swears that he did not do anything to Eddie, sexual or nefarious to him while he was unconscious, but Eddie doesn't believe that, and I wouldn't believe it either if I were Eddie. Larry calls him a subject, not a human being, a subject. He says that it is no pleasure in it if the subject is passed out. And Eddie is completely and totally disgusted by that. Larry says that it was all just for kicks, and Eddie kicks him for that, just for saying that. Larry says, let him go and we'll call this even, but Eddie disagrees. He says that my ex-girlfriend took pictures and I'm the laughing stock, and he declares this situation not even. Larry says, with a whole lot of gall, that he's nothing but a sore loser. And then Eddie starts to beat him again. Larry starts to scream for help, and Eddie laughs at him and says, yeah, scream for help and see if anyone can hear you. Larry continues to scream for help. Eddie continues to beat him up. And from the outside, we can see the back of the bed part of the truck. It just rocks back and forth. So Eddie is taking his revenge out on Larry, and I am completely here for it. It was a completely and totally hilarious scene, and as I said before, I have no sympathy for Larry. None. Absolutely none. I'm glad that he's getting what he deserves, especially in regards to as to what he's doing to Kelly. Now, the next two people we go to is Kelly and Esperanza. Essie visits Kelly in jail. Essie wants her to stay positive, and Kelly, says that she is trying. Essie wants her to maintain her composure, but Kelly says that it is so hard. Kelly is thinking about justice, but Essie says that we are all looking out for him. Natalie and Essie are going to be picking him up from school. Kelly then asks about Lucien and her lawyer, and Essie says that she will talk to Lucien about it. Kelly begs for Essie to get her out of here. She says that she's not like these people in here. Essie looks unconvinced, and Kelly picks up on it. Kelly says these people have done horrible things. Essie again promises her to go to Lucien for help. Kelly then accuses Essie of looking at her in a certain way and rants about Travis pushing her into it. Esperanza quiets her and says that we are going to handle it. We're going to get through this together, but you have to stay quiet. Then she asked him, she asked about justice again, and Essie says that we've got him taken care of. She implores Natalie to go easy on justice because he could be stubborn and he's just afraid. And just to sit down and talk to him and let him know everything that's going on. Kelly thanks her again and apologizes, and Esperanza goes to find Lucien. So Kelly is still in prison. She's still suffering this, and I hope that she gets out soon. I hope she really does. Now, the next two people we go to is Brad and Randall. Brad is accosted by Randall outside of his house. He rants to Brad about the lawsuit. Brad is unmoved and says, go get the ladder so I can kick you off of it again. Then Randall brings up suing Brad, owning him and his house and his wife. Brad counters by saying that I own Marcy now and she's in love with me, and she is certainly worth it. Brad brings up the baby being a star as well, and that he's starting to kick, and that he's kicking up a storm just like I kicked you off of that ladder. Randall walks away as Brad says, oh, you can dish this stuff out, but you can't take it. Randall comes back, ranting again about the lawsuits and the affair, and Brad talks again about the ladder, and then they walk off. It's just another confrontation between Brad and Randall, and as I said before, this was one of the scenes that we've all seen before. It's just the same, situation with different writing. It really doesn't move the story along any further. And that was probably the big problem with this episode. I mean, they moved the story along a little bit in a certain place, but not in others. Now, The next two people we go to is Lucien and Esperanza, another storyline that really didn't move or go anywhere. They talk about Kelly, and Lucien says that he will see her in a bit. They say that Kelly is concerned about her lawyer. Essie asks about Lucian's progress, and he has not been able to reach Ian's referral. Essie warns Lucian that this is a very high profile case and that Travis's family is very influential. She thinks that Ian gave Lucian a bad referral, which she is right about. She's absolutely right about Ian and not being able to trust him. But Lucian, trusts in Ian and believes that he is on the up and up. She asks how long has Lucian known Ian, and Lucian says that he has, known him for a long time and that he's always been upright. Esperanza grills Lucian about the lawyer situation and says that we don't have much time. She needs a good lawyer. Lucian then starts to get a little irritated with Esperanza, but Esperanza is fearful of Kelly getting life in prison. Then she mentions the press conference and how the grieving family is very convincing. Esperanza says that perception is reality, but they do know that Kelly is innocent. Lucian again says that he'll make a few more calls. Then Lucian advises Essie not to fraternize, with the help. Don't fraternize with the people at work. She doesn't really want to discuss this, but he warns her that Kelly got involved with Travis at work. He advises her just to know the rules when you start. Essie thinks Steven told him about the relationship, but Lucian already knew it. He already knew it. So it's not a big deal. She says that nothing is going on, but Lucian knows the true story about what's going on here. And there are 2 points that I want to make about this. As far as Kelly goes, if they can't get a lawyer, then they should try to get her a public defender. Just get a public defender. I mean, a public defender is better than no lawyer at all. So get her something. Get her someone in here that'll, take a good look at her case. And as for the other point that I want to make, it's just about Esperanza. I mean, she's going through all of this trouble and hopping through all these hoops, trying to keep people not knowing. But everyone knows anyway, and no one cares. I mean, she's just making a big deal out of nothing. Now, the next group of people we go to is Alex, Randall, and Natalie. Alex is walking with the baby in a stroller. Randall sees her and immediately starts to harass her about the baby. He is standing in front of her, blocking her way into her house. He tries to look at the baby, but she stands in front of the stroller and tells him, "You touch this stroller and you will regret it." He refuses to move, and she tries to walk away in the other direction, but he grabs her. She warns him never to touch her, but he replies, "Oh, you liked it when I touched you." Throwing that ridiculous affair in her face. Then she slaps him a couple of times, but he just laughs at her. And then he says, "You remember when I used to slap that ass?" Randall is just some lunatic pig, and I'm just so sick of him. I'm just so sick of this. It's just so lame. Just get over it already. The woman don't want you anymore, so just move on with your life. Then she starts back down the street trying to get away from him while he is following behind her, taunting her. Then Natalie sees this and goes to defend Alex. He calls her a ghetto bitch and tells her to get out of the conversation. She mentions cutting him before and offers a hot piece of lead to go with it. She has no fear of him and tells him to back off of Alex and back off of this. He touches her then. He goes to grab her like, he was, trying to grab Alex, but then she falls on the ground in a dramatic way and starts screaming and yelling for help at the top of her lungs. Apparently, the tactic works. He wonders what's wrong with her, looks around nervous, and then runs off. Then Natalie and Alex start talking to each other, and they're laughing about what just happened there. Natalie wants her to handle him. She says that she has to out crazy the crazy and set him up. Alex says she and Brad are trying to stop him, but nothing is going on. Nothing is being resolved. Brad came back to Alex, but Randall isn't making it easy. Natalie says that Brad, is not the one who started this. She is, and that she has to try to fix it. Alex then apologizes to Natalie for having lied on Lucien, and Natalie forgives it and offers to walk her back to her house. I mean, it's just one thing after the other. One thing after the other. But as horrible, as Randall is being, I still have no sympathy for Alex. I mean, she took a situation and made it 100 times worse. 100 times worse. She refused to take responsibility for her actions, and it just left the situation 100 times worse. And I just have no sympathy for her. None. The next group of people we go to is Ian, Marcy, Esperanza, and Stephen. Two scenes back to back. At the restaurant, Ian is waiting for Marcy. She comes in talking on the phone to Esperanza about Kelly. She is sad for Kelly and notes that Ian can no longer be Kelly's attorney. And it is because, it's all because of Larry. And Larry, who represents Travis's family. Marcy senses that Ian is hiding something. He sees that he has a good heart, which is very hard for some lawyers. Marcy says that he is complicated and he's trying to act tough, but he is a big softy on the inside. He gives her, the come hither look and says, I may be soft in some places, but not in all. They flirt with each other a little bit, and then Marcy turns the conversation back around to Kelly, which Ian really doesn't want to talk about because, he's railroading her. Of course, he doesn't want to talk about it. He's railroading her. Marcy, you just feel so terrible about sitting here having dinner in a nice restaurant while Kelly's facing so much trouble. Then Marcy sees Esperanza on a date, which is strange because Esperanza just said that she was at the police station. Marcy goes over to speak to Esperanza, and Esperanza, tries to do this stupid little dance, but everyone, knows that she is obviously lying. Esperanza introduces Stephen and they speak to each other. Marcy says that she is on a date with a client and is celebrating. He just bought a house on Brad Street. Stephen invites Marcy over, but Esperanza quickly shuts that down. Marcy, wants to talk to Esperanza later about Kelly and she wants to be kept apprised of the situation. And then she says her goodbyes and then she leaves. Esperanza and Stephen talk and they lament on Essie being caught in her lies. Stephen asks her a good question. Are you ashamed to be seen with me? Esperanza says no, but she's afraid that they will tell everyone and she doesn't want them in her business. Stephen says that we are single adults, so just let it go. She is afraid that they will talk to Eddie and it will become a big thing. Stephen says, let me handle Eddie. Stephen says that I know that you want control. I know that you want everything to be okay. And pretty much all you need to do is relax. Then Stephen teases her about needing liquid courage, needing a drink to calm herself down. She says that she just gets nervous around him. He asked why, and then she said it all came out of nowhere. It all came around so fast, and she, hasn't had quite enough time to process it all. But she does admit that she is enjoying it. He just tells her again that we're adults, just relax and, just calm down and everything's going to be okay. They order some drinks and they smile and they flirt. And that's pretty much the end of that scene. And that is just another scene that doesn't really do much, in the way of progressing the story. I mean, I've seen all this and heard all of this before. I want to see something new with this episode. And I didn't see much newness here. Only at the beginning and only at the end. Everything in the middle I've seen before. Now, the last scene of the night belongs to Alex, Brad, and Randall. And this scene, did kind of push the story, forward a little bit. So I have to give it credit for that. Alex puts the baby down for a nap when Randall starts blasting loud music outside. She runs over there, which she wasn't supposed to do in the first place. But she runs over there and she yells at him to turn the music down. He doesn't. Then she picks up a garden hose and starts spraying the inside of the car. They bicker back and forth, and then she goes to Randall's car to turn the radio off. He grabs her and pulls her out of his car, and she rails against him for lying to Brad about her going over to his house when she didn't. She accuses him of having no conscience, and he starts whining, about Marcy and Brad having a baby together. Then Alex, in her wisdom, decides to tell Randall the truth about Marcy. She says that Brad is not the father of the baby. You are. She completely sails Marcy down the river in some attempt to save herself. She told him in the hopes that Randall would stop harassing her and he would turn all his horrible attentions on to Marcy. Which was such a despicable thing to do on her part. It was really despicable. She's desperate and she's trying anything just to get him to stop. Randall is shocked by what she has said, but she says just to go and check the calendar. Go and check the calendar and retrace your steps, and you will realize that Marcy is pregnant around the last time that the two of you had sex together. He thinks that she is messing with him, but Alex says that she never wants to mess with him again. Then Brad, drives up and sees the two of them together. He gets angry, he drives off as she is screaming his name and as Randall is laughing at her, saying that he is gone. And that is where the episode ends. I mean, Brad is really going to be pretty much out that door now because she broke her word saying that she wouldn't go over there. And on top of that, she's pretty much sold Marcy down the river to save herself. So, I mean, if she thinks that Brad is going to take her back after this, I think those two are completely and totally over, and I'm so here for it. Thank you all so much for watching my video, and come back next week for the next installment. My MVP is Eddie because he got a hold to Larry. So for that, I have named him my MVP. The next episode is called The Battleground State. So I think there's going to be a lot of fighting in this episode. I think some battles are going to be held in this episode, and I do look forward to it. Thank you again, and I also apologize one last time for getting this video up here so late. There isn't as much time as it used to be. Thank you all so much. Enjoy your life as I do, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you.
door downstairs.